Is the dominance of the US dollar at risk? For decades, the dollar has been the cornerstone of global finance. But now, countries around the world, particularly those in the BRICS bloc, are pushing to change that dynamic. Can they really succeed in dethroning the dollar? And what will that mean for the global economy? Donald Trump is making it clear that he won't stand idly by while countries challenge the dollar's supremacy. In his most recent comments, Trump has warned that any nation attempting to replace the dollar with an alternative currency will face severe consequences. According to him, tariffs of up to 100% could be imposed on those daring to undermine the dollar's position in global trade. His message is straightforward. The US dollar is here to stay, and anyone trying to sideline it will pay a heavy price. Trump's stance on this issue is nothing new. Late last year, he bluntly stated that BRICS, the group of emerging economies including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has no chance of replacing the US dollar in global trade. He made it clear that any country attempting to break free from the dollar's influence would find itself shut out of the American market. This message was reiterated earlier this year, when he again used social media to assert his position. Trump's demand is clear. BRICS nations must commit to not attempting to sideline the dollar, or they will face full-scale economic penalties. But despite Trump's hardline approach, Brazil, the current leader of the BRICS bloc, is forging ahead with its own plans to reduce reliance on the US dollar. Brazil is not the only one. Other BRICS nations are also actively pursuing financial reforms that could shift the balance of global trade away from the dollar. These countries are exploring new ways to conduct trade using their own currencies, bypassing the need for the dollar as a middleman. This could have far-reaching implications for the US dollar's dominance in international transactions. Brazil, in particular, is making significant strides in this direction. They have developed their own payment system, known as PIX, which has revolutionized the way transactions are conducted within Brazil. Since its launch in 2020, PIX has outpaced traditional payment methods and is now being used to facilitate trade between Brazil and neighboring countries like Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay, all without using the US dollar. While there are still some logistical challenges, such as payment processing times, new technologies like instant digital transactions are expected to speed up the process and make these trades faster, safer, and cheaper. Brazil's push for financial independence is just one part of a larger movement within the BRICS bloc. As countries like Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE have recently joined the group, the momentum for a new approach to global trade is growing. The central idea behind this push is a desire for more control over their own financial systems, without being beholden to the whims of the US dollar. So, how did the dollar become so powerful in the first place? To understand its dominance, we need to look back to the aftermath of World War II, when the global economic system was reshaped at the Bretton Woods Conference in 1944. World leaders decided to peg their currencies to the US dollar, which in turn was tied to gold. This system provided stability and established the dollar as the centerpiece of international trade, solidifying America's position as the dominant economic power. This arrangement lasted for decades, until 1971, when President Richard Nixon made a game-changing move by severing the dollar's direct link to gold. This decision ended the Bretton Woods system and ushered in an era where exchange rates could float freely. However, despite the end of the gold standard, the dollar retained its global influence, largely due to a deal with oil-producing nations in the 1970s. Known as the petrodollar system, this agreement ensured that oil sales would be priced exclusively in US dollars, further solidifying the dollar's position in global trade. Today, the dollar's dominance is upheld by deep financial markets, political stability, and powerful international institutions. It remains the preferred currency for global trade and a safe haven for investors. But as countries like Brazil and China push for alternatives, the question remains: how long can the dollar maintain its reign? Trump's recent statements reveal just how seriously the US is taking the challenge from BRICS. He has made it clear that he is closely watching the moves of these nations, and he's not afraid to act if they attempt to undermine the dollar's role in global finance. If BRICS nations succeed in moving away from the dollar, the effects could be profound. A decreased demand for US government bonds could lead to higher borrowing costs for the US, weakening its position on the global stage. But are BRICS nations really making progress in breaking free from the dollar's grip? One of the most notable developments is the growing trend of trading in local currencies rather than relying on the dollar. For example, in early 2023, China and Brazil struck a deal to conduct trade directly in their own currencies, the Chinese yuan, CNY, and the Brazilian real, BRL. This move eliminates the need to convert money into dollars, streamlining trade and reducing the risks associated with fluctuating exchange rates. Given that trade between China and Brazil reached $150 billion in 2022, this development has significant implications for both countries' financial systems. Meanwhile, countries like Iran and Russia are also working to reduce their dependence on the dollar. In recent years, they've been strengthening their financial ties by linking their banking systems. This partnership allows businesses in both countries to make direct payments without going through US-controlled networks. Iran and Russia have even integrated their banking systems into a larger financial network, connecting over 100 banks across 13 countries. By using Russia's SPFS system, an alternative to SWIFT, the global messaging network controlled by the West, these countries can send financial messages, issue letters of credit, and process transactions without relying on Western banking infrastructure. In July 2024, Iran made another major move by linking its Shitab banking network with Russia's Mir payment system. This allowed Russian tourists and businesses in Iran to use their Mir cards, simplifying payments and reducing reliance on Western financial systems. This partnership continued to deepen later in the year as Iranian bank cards were accepted in Russia, further facilitating trade between the two nations. Other BRICS nations are following suit. For example, India, which became Russia's #1 supplier of crude oil in 2023, has started shifting towards local currency transactions in the energy sector. With a significant portion of payments now being made in Indian rupees instead of US dollars, both countries have insulated themselves from external financial pressures and maintained steady trade flows. South Africa, another BRICS member, is also taking steps to reduce its reliance on the dollar. As China becomes South Africa's biggest trading partner, the two countries have signed agreements to pay for certain imports, such as machinery and electronics, in Chinese yuan. This move not only simplifies transactions but also increases liquidity in African markets, providing more financial flexibility. In addition to these efforts, BRICS has introduced a game-changing financial tool, BRICS Pay. This decentralized payment system is designed to streamline cross-border transactions by allowing businesses and individuals to send and receive money in their local currencies, avoiding the need for conversions into dollars. BRICS Pay integrates national payment systems like Russia's Mir, India's UPI, and China's Union Pay, ensuring secure and efficient transactions while maintaining compliance with each country's financial regulations. As BRICS nations continue to push for financial independence, the world is watching closely to see if their efforts will succeed in challenging the dollar's dominance. While Trump has made it clear that he will not tolerate any attempt to sideline the US dollar, the actions of BRICS nations suggest that they are determined to explore alternative paths for global trade. The future of the dollar's reign as the world's top currency may depend on how this geopolitical struggle plays out.